Hi, I'm Narokx and I'm learning different styles to enrich my own. A couple weeks ago I was diving into some G-Funk and I had the idea of turning XXXTENTACION SAD into a groovy G-Funk banger. I'll break it down how I did it and how it turned out. I recorded myself playing the original song but on a G-Funk tempo. I separated the top melodies from the bass chords. I used the bass chords to create that G-Funk atmosphere. I don't know why, but I was inspired by Snoop Dogg's Sensual Seduction while making this. I know that it isn't a G-Funk track, but I found that as I was working, I was getting that same vibe. I layered these two Rode pianos and tried to make them match together. Separate, they sound weak, but together they feel like just one piano. On the bigger sounding Rhodes, I did minimal processing but sent it to a bus that has the same processing as the strings in the other piano. Layering these strings with the pianos are what gave me that sensual seduction vibe. I doubled the strings and made a V shape, sending one 25% to the right and the other 25% to the left. That way it feels bigger, but they are not in the same stereo space. The strings in the other piano were sent to this mixer track, where I did a hard high-pass filter, used RC20 for color, lots of reverb, and a small low pass. Now the top melody. I used the guitar for that melody. But I kept it quiet since I will have that classic sine G-Funk synth playing a similar melody. I processed the guitar with a medium low pass filter, a hard EQ to put it in a frequency pocket, a jazz amp preset on guitar rig, a similar reverb from the bass melody, and another hard EQ. Now the last and arguably the most important melody element. I used this classic Moog lead from Omnisphere and played it on the piano so I could get that perfect bend on the overlapping notes. I used RC20 for distortion and to make it less stereo, a big reverb and an EQ. I have many melodies going on at the same time, so I had to balance them, making some more stereo than others. Now we can talk about bass and percussion. I used the Juno preset from Trilogy Bass and layered it with the sub bass playing it the same pattern. I have a lot of patterns. So many patterns and variation for the bass. These two patterns for when the vocal hits, these two for the verse, and these two for the outro. I used a bit of distortion on RC20 and some EQ to balance the two basses. On the sub, I used a hard low pass since I only want the sub to fatten my low end. And the Juno already has a lot of mids and high frequencies. Percussion for G-Funk has a lot going on, but the key elements are having your kick and snare hit. I used a boom bap kick on this pattern. Use some distortion and tiny bit of reverb and some EQ to make it hit. I layered 4 claps, I kid you not, 4 claps, and have them playing in a classic hip hop 2 and 4 pattern. I have a simple hi-hat which is playing at every 4 steps. And for the perks, I went a little bit crazy. I have a crash, a wood block, a triangle hit, and a vox. I didn't do anything noteworthy for the processing, just lots of reverb and a high pass for the vox. Before we discuss the vocal, transition effects. I reversed the crash to make it a riser and used this young chop effect in between some of the drum loops. And finally, the vocals. Finding clean vocals is impossible, so I just found a couple I thought were just clean enough for me to mix it without sounding off on the beat. I got the vocal and stretched it until I could loop it without sounding weird.
I'm sad, I know, yeah. I'm sad, I know, yeah.
I didn't do too much to the vocals honestly, since it is an already processed vocal from a finished song. It was all delays and leveling the volume, and also some chops here and there to make it fit the tempo a little bit better. Arrangement. I have all elements pitched down 5 semitones in these purple sections. And other than that, it is just some variations here and there throughout the song, with drops, fills, and automations of low passes, volumes, and all that nerdy stuff that you need to do to make your stuff sound smooth and less repetitive. And that is it. Not gonna lie, I loved it, how it came out. But it was exhausting, so please support with a sub or any feedback you have, as this was kind of an exercise for me to learn other music styles, which will eventually make my own style a little bit better. Again, I have a few of these coming, so be on the lookout for those. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain.
If you ever come, let me know. Yeah.